Hi, welcome to Ask the Manager. It's a beautiful, hot summer day, even though it's still springtime, and we're still dealing with COVID isolation. So the last number I had, Kevin, was 270. What do you have? Do you have today's results yet?
Nothing new to report today. 270 positive cases so far.
And so no news is good news.
Yeah, we are seeing a really good trend. I've been looking at the 7-day averages really since the beginning of, the middle of April. And the most recent 7 days, on average, we're down to about 2.5 cases per day, down from a high of about 5.5 cases per day over 7-day period. So we are seeing a considerable improvement, and that gives us a good feeling that, one, we were able to flatten the curve pretty quickly, and two, we still have to be vigilant so we don't see a rebound in the number of cases. But very, very happy to see the numbers continue to decline.
Have you heard or seen any issues of people not socially isolating as people go about town?
We've had business complaints, some businesses that shouldn't have been open during before the reopening phase started. We've had complaints with folks being in the parks and not being socially distant and playing pickup games. And we have had a few calls on masks, both from customers of stores and from residents who are using the parks and other public facilities, seeing others that haven't. With regards to the masks, masks are required if you are unable to socially distance. So I can certainly understand someone wants to go for a walk in the park, they wouldn't think they would need a mask, but unfortunately it's such a popular thing to do these days that I think you're always better to have the mask with you. If nothing else, just have it on your body in case you come into a situation where you are unable to be at least 6 feet apart from anyone. Protect yourself and protect those around you.
And the only thing I'd like to say is I really wish people would understand if they don't cover their nose, it's not working. Yeah. They defeat the purpose. They don't have to protect their chin. They have to protect their mouth and their nose. So I've seen a lot of that where people wear it down. But other than that, I found just for the limited places that I've been that people are very considerate of one another and trying to do their best to socially distance. Every once in a while you meet a goofy person, but for the most part, I think people are trying.
Yeah, I mean, that's my experience.
At least in this area.
Yeah, I mean, that's my experience personally as well. And given the few complaints that we have, I think, officially that's kind of what we're seeing in town as well. So it's only going to help us get reopened sooner. As long if the numbers spike back up, everyone's going to be more grumpy and more miserable, and we're going to have to delay this a lot longer than we otherwise would have to if we can get just personal compliance.
Do we have any employees that have been affected with COVID, and has that affected the flow of work through the town?
We certainly have had a handful of employees who have let us know that they were positive and diagnosed, and we took all proper precautions related to that. Unfortunately, we have not been in a situation where any department has ever had more than one person out at a time, which is very good. I had a department head meeting earlier today as we begin to think about reopening, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And I did thank everyone because, one of the challenges with public health, as you know very well, Donna, and especially all your specialties as a nurse, is that we can never tell you how many cases we prevented. That number just doesn't exist. But, that's public health's most prominent metric, but it's something that's really unattainable. So we know that from a town standpoint and employee standpoint, everyone's doing what we've asked them to do, and we further balanced our risk levels by, having lower numbers on site and separating into different working groups. So again, it's not something that we can measure. We can't say, well, 5 people would have gotten it if we didn't do anything, but we know because our numbers are low that it has to be working whenever you consider the total impact it's having in certain other areas of the country and even the state.
Now, the election is June 16th,
That's
and
right.
people are urged to do mail-in voting when possible. Do you have any information on how that's working out with the town clerk's office?
Yep, so they're very busy, which is a good thing. They have over 900 requests for mail-in ballots, which is a significant number. We are also preparing for the in-person voting, which is an option for folks. We're really encouraging everyone still. They can request their ballots up to the date of the election. And we really want people to do that. But we had a briefing earlier today with what every poll location will be supplied with. We'll manage pens and masks and sanitization and cleaning and things like that. So we will be prepared at the polls. It's just so much easier for us and easier for you to utilize the mail-in options. I see some of these options as maybe being, some people could consider them the easy way out or not the right way of doing things, but they're not going to be here forever. So take advantage of them while they are. And, I know I personally have requested a mail-in ballot for Sturbridge where I live. I would like to be able to do that all the time, but, I'm certainly taking advantage of that this year.
I can tell you, my whole household has taken advantage of the mail-in voting, and it was pretty easy. I mean, it's effortless, really. Yeah. So for anyone who has any concerns about that.
Just so folks do know, you do have to contact the town clerk's office. You can either call or email the office, or just preferably go right to the website, download the application and scan it in and email it over. Take a picture of it and email it to the town clerk's office. That's how you'll get your ballot. We need your signature and request, and then we'll mail it out to you, and you can mail it back into us.
But for people without computer access or inability to use a computer, it's still easy enough to just call the town clerk's office.
That's
and
right.
They send the form.
That's right. Yeah.
And it comes pretty quickly too. So and then we have town meeting. Do we have a date?
So we set a date last evening at the Board of Selectmen for June 29th, which is a Monday. So it's a traditional Monday start to the meeting. And honestly, whether we have it or not on that date is up in the air. The Board of Selectmen were required to establish the date prior to June 30th, and the state law now transitions authority and power, mainly in the moderator, in consultation with public health, public safety, Board of Selectmen, et cetera, as to whether or not we'll actually have the meeting. I see two critical factors with regards to holding town meeting and the main financial business the town meeting conducts in the spring. The first and foremost is the public health data. Is there an opportunity for us to meet in a certain venue, whether it's inside or outside, and be able to conduct the business of the town and have a quorum and have enough people on hand that are comfortable to do that without putting anyone at any unnecessary risk? And two, do we have the data mainly from the state on state aid to make a very educated recommendation for a full year budget? At this point, honestly, the public health data is not strong enough for us to make that decision, and we don't have the state financial data to make that decision. So if I had to call it today, I would say no, we won't actually meet that date. But there's plenty of time between now and then to make that decision, and if we have the opportunity to meet, we will certainly do that to carry out the business.
And do you have a warrant developed? I assume you do.
Yeah, the board signed that last night. There's 41 articles on it. It's completely, as you would appreciate, Donna, completely reordered. The budget, which is normally number 10 or so, as far as the article goes, is number 2. The first one would just be a transfer any funds within the current year budget. So it's completely reordered, and it's reordered such that it would be my goal, at least on the first night and before loss of a quorum, to get through the first 18 of those 41 articles. If we got through all 18 of those, I would consider the meeting a success and the town being able to fully operate for the balance of the year. Certainly the remaining articles are critical as it relates to moving the town forward and making changes. But they are not, essential for us to carry out operations, until a later point in the year.
Has Michael Hale officially left the building?
No, we're not letting him leave yet. He'll actually be on hand through early July. I'm not sure if it's July 1 or a later date. The individual, Christopher Roy, who has accepted the position, will be starting on July 20th. So it's, as these positions often had, he had a contract with the town of Belmont, city of Belmont, and he had a 60-day notification clause, which is why he will not be able to start until the 20th of July. We do look to getting him on board, and perhaps that timeline delay means that more staff would be on hand for a more conventional onboarding and meet and greet sessions for him after he gets on board.
There's been a lot of movement with positions in the last couple of months. So Ellen Dolan's retired. A lot of people are just kind of disappearing now because of all this social isolation. And Priya has taken her position. You have Keith Elms, who is the animal control officer. What's different about that position?
Yeah, so Keith took over a little less than a year ago, and he certainly has done a very good job of managing after Leona Pease, who was in the position for decades. So I really like how Keith handles himself. He's very knowledgeable about both the state laws and local requirements, and he's more than willing, just like Leona was, to meet with residents and understand concerns, whether it's dog issues. I haven't asked him a question that he hasn't been able to answer, and I've seen him ask some pretty tough questions during public dog hearings by the Board of Selectmen that he handled very well. So I think he's doing a wonderful job in that spot.
And you had a dog hearing recently?
Yeah. We have been having this ongoing conversation with some dogs along the Memorial Drive area, and or I think it was, feels like 100 years ago, but sometime during the winter we had an actual dog hearing where one dog bit them.
And Council on Aging Director, you now have Holly in place.
That's right. Yeah, she's doing a wonderful job. She came on board and has really hit the ground running and has suggested some changing. Some of them actually are coming to fruition really early because she's been doing a video-based newsletter,
which is really, really good.
Yeah, which is it's very interesting and very forward-thinking for her to do that during these times. And she's found a way, if we're able to ever get back to the conventional newsletter, to find a way to fund it and reduce our direct costs for the publication of the newsletter. So that, among very many other things and challenges, unfortunately, I see, of course, the senior center being one of the last aspects that would be able to reopen to the public, just because of the nature of the seniors and the folks that we service through there.
People over 60 being high risk. So
yeah.
Highest risk.
It's a shame for Holly and her, first year, but she's managed it remarkably.
Well, I think the video newsletter is most likely helpful to many, many seniors. And it's also an enjoyable, relaxing few minutes as she presents the information. I thought she did a really nice job. Now you have the HVAC issue with hiring because of it being such a high salary in the community.
Yeah, so it's been a challenge for us. I mean, the marketplace often pays more than we would as a municipality. And we have, obviously 1 million square foot of building that have HVAC needs. So we think that we'd be able to effectively have that position in-house and keep them very busy. But as often happens during economic downturns, local government becomes a more and more attractive place to work because of stability. We may not always pay as much, especially in the high years of economic times, but we're always here. And our work is always constant, unlike some aspects of the private sector. So this may be an opportunity for us to finally fill that position and move on in a more efficient way rather than just using contractors for those requirements.
And I don't want time to go by without acknowledging that Keith, I don't want to kill his name, Baldinger, how do you say it?
Yep.
Has received a building operator certificate for green communities, which
That's
is
right.
An achievement.
Yep. Yeah, it is. And it was one of his goals for the year as it relates to the town's designation as a green community, and it will be beneficial for our continual improvement. We have a lot of work to do in being able to remotely manage the HVAC systems and optimize the utility usage within our buildings. So this certification is a feather in his cap, and Keith does a wonderful job of not only getting up to speed. It feels like he's been with us for quite a long time, but it's really just over 18 months at this point. So.
And Jeff and Nick Rebecca, I killed his name too, I'm sure, gave you a snow and ice report and also a street sweeping report recently.
Yeah. So this year, winter operations were pretty good on the budget, although we had some long duration, challenging ice storms. I'm proud of how we made it through another winter. It's always a challenge to make sure that we have enough staffing, contracted resources on board, and Nick always finds a way to manage each storm. Ed Hayes does a great job out there as the foreman for the highway department. And we're done with street sweeping, which is very rare that we would be done in May. Obviously, we had a unique opportunity to be able to get through the streets a lot smoother, and we had a lot less material, although we still collected several hundred tons because we're practicing better stormwater management. We're not putting any sand down, which reduces the amount of material then we have to recollect. So that proved very successful this year, and we're on to starting our summer operations, even though it's not summer yet.
And it was just Memorial Day, and we had the strangeness of not being at a Memorial Day parade. In my lifetime, I don't recall ever missing a Memorial Day parade, but we had a Memorial Day program that we had the pleasure of watching on YouTube, on TV. And I have to say, hats off to Angela Snell and Mark Serra for the incredible job they did. First of all, it was a very nice program, but the layout that Mark presented with pictures and so forth, it was really very, very nice and very touching. And I hope people get to see it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, Angela and Mark did a wonderful job. We appreciate everyone's participation who was able to participate. And as hard as it is, we do appreciate everyone's understanding and responsibility with regards to us not having a parade. It was the right thing to do. And they did a fantastic job in still being able to honor those who have fallen.
And if I forgot anyone to recognize about this program, I'm sorry, but they just have to know that it was outstanding.
Yeah, the only other person I want to mention was, Justin Souza, who is our veteran service agent who runs the Veterans District. He certainly had a job of getting this off the ground and making sure that it happens. So we have to thank him as well.
And getting back to humdrum information, how about the water, lead, and copper testing?
Yeah, so we made some changes. This is a challenging program for us. We have to collect 60 samples twice a year from homes that were constructed in the early 80s. And they have to be taken under very strict circumstances as far as when the last time water was drawn from a particular tap. So the Board of Selectmen, like many other towns, decided to offer an incentive of a $25 bill abatement for residents who were interested and able to participate, we have a list of them that we reach out to, and the incentive just makes sure that we're able to meet the criteria. So we have a narrow window of time to be able to submit everything properly to DEP and meet that requirement. And unfortunately, if we don't meet the requirement, we have to publicize that we didn't meet the requirements of the lead and copper program. And we never have issues with lead and copper being within the water system, but it's hard to provide that clarity whenever you have to notify people that we didn't comply with the requirements of the system. So just having everyone participate, getting the 60 samples in and meeting those criteria is critically important to our water quality report. So we thank the residents' partnership and participation with us for this program.
And you're moving forward with a police and municipal campus building committee? Whoever's on that committee has a big job because it's not one building, it's 3 buildings.
It is, yeah. We are considering the renovation aspects for both the town hall and the senior center. And we're just, through the space needs aspect of it. The timing lined up well. We had anticipated town meeting, appointing the committee, which would, town meeting would have started May 18th. So the Board of Selectmen chose to keep the project rolling forward and provide proper public oversight and appointing the committee themselves rather than town meeting doing that. So they did that at their meeting last night. We'll have a good group of 9 individuals. It includes, residents at large and other board members and staff to help us move this project forward. It does seem like an awkward time to be able to consider such a large capital investment, but time and time again during economic downturns, the federal government has turned to shovel-ready projects to help local economies recover, and we want to be shovel-ready as soon as possible, and appointing the building committee is the right thing to do to enable that. And whether the project moves forward beyond the work of the initial design phases is certainly up to town meeting and town residents, but we'll put ourselves in the best position to be able to take advantage of any stimulus or borrowing authorizations that we may be fortunate enough to receive in the future.
Now, you said 9 people are on that committee, or
yeah.
5 town employees?
Yes. Yeah.
So it would include school department people and...
Yeah, it includes school department, town management, council on aging director, public facilities director, police chief, and then board of selectmen member, and 3 residents at large.
And you have to have it that big just because it involves 3 different buildings, which has 3 different leaders.
Yeah,
of each building.
That seemed to be the right number to balance it out. Ideally, I think a committee should never have more than 7, but Beal has 9 members. I think it works out really well with the folks that are on there. So we really use that as a model and who should have been on it, given the success of that project. And we will look to move forward with the committee as soon as possible.
And what is the donation bin bylaw?
Yeah, so donation bins are the closed collection points and other material collection points that you see throughout the community on various private lots. And this bylaw attempts to regulate and enforce if those facilities aren't kept in accordance with public health and safety standards. So it just provides us a little bit more teeth with a process where the town has to allow and certify where the boxes are allowed to go and collect information on the ownership of the box and make sure that the property owner is aware of their responsibility in maintaining the site should things not be put in the bin. It's just an attempt to clean those up a little bit.
And do you have budget information? How are we doing as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year?
Yeah, so I think from an expenditure standpoint, we're going to quote unquote save ourselves. There's some reduced costs that we're obviously experiencing because we're not operating schools, so we have reduced utility costs. We have eliminated our cleaning contractors who came into the building on a day-to-day basis, which is a significant saving on a month-by-month basis. And we put a spending freeze in place and a hiring freeze in place that have really limited our discretionary expenditures over the last several months and will continue through the end of the year. I can tell you that revenues are clearly being hit. Halfway through the month of April, we had only collected about almost 90% of what we collected last April for local receipts. The month of May was much worse. Halfway through the month, we were only on pace to collect about 30% of what we collected in May of 2019. So I think that we may still struggle to meet the budgeted mark for local receipts. I'm hoping that residents who are waiting and utilizing the benefits of the delay, where everything has to be in the month of June rather than their original due date when it comes to both property taxes and anything else that has a due date of March 10th or later. So I'm really hoping it's a delay. And, honestly, this is an appeal to residents who are able to make those payments, that it's critical for our operations to be, close out the books by June 30th. And if you make those payments in June, then you won't incur penalties and interest. And the sooner you're able to do so comfortably in your financial situation, the more we encourage you to do that, because not only is it critical for fiscal year 20 and the closeout of this year, but it also gives us insight to what fiscal year 21 may look like. And if we overestimate the amount of reductions we need to make, that's as harmful as underestimating, because we'd be cutting staff and services that we may otherwise not have to. So not only is the dollar important, the data that we get from the dollar is important in making our decisions going into the future.
And Bernie Cahill came in to report on the town center wayfinding.
Yeah, so that's an exciting project that we received a competitive grant for, and some sign design plans were set forth last night at the Board of Selectmen meeting that, quite honestly, weren't met very warmly by the board. They had a lot of requests and changes, both on the motto or slogan that was being presented in one, and also the kind of the design feel, the era that the sign reminded some of the board members of. So, what was the motto? It's called Core of the Commonwealth. And, the board didn't feel that was an accurate representation of the town in its position, and they were much more comfortable with just having it say town center or something more generic, and then trying to create kind of an arbitrary, so to speak, motto or slogan for the town at this point. So I think that was good feedback, and they were looking for something which won't shock anyone, I think a little more colonial feeling than the modern look that was presented to them. So a little bit of work to do still with the consultant on that, but certainly well in hand, and it'll be a great project once we're, hopefully get the town center zoning district put in place and unlock some of the potential that is in the town center.
So we're out of time, but I just wanted to mention that the sewer construction started May 18th and is going till next May 2021. And
That's right.
It starts from Arrowwood, goes to Route 20, and then goes Route 20 to the Shrewsbury-Worcester line. And you are urging people to take alternate routes when possible.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, we were going to do that work at night, but given the lower commute traffic, Mass DOT has authorized day work, which is better and more effective. So hopefully that project stays on or ahead of schedule, and the less traffic in the area, the more likely that is to happen.
And that the sewer investigations have begun with Weston and Sampson around town?
Yep, they're absolutely moving forward. This is year 9 or 10 of that. So very successful program that saves money by not allowing infiltration into the system and reduces our treatment costs for the sewer system.
Well, we're out of time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.